Hello everyone, my name is Amelie and today I'm joined by Charlie from OK Positive and Dagmara, COO at Zumo. So Charlie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, Amelie. Hello, Dag. My name's Charlie. I started a business called OK Positive, which is a mental health platform, which is designed to support and educate individuals, but help organizations to learn more about their employees and their well-being to make proactive change. So yeah, delighted to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And Dag?
Hi, everyone. So Dagmara Aldridge, COO at Zumo, but also a self-appointed mental health and well-being champion. I guess I know Charlie because one day the stars aligned and we met I was introduced to the brilliant OK Positive platform and app, which we are using at Zumo, hence why we are here today.
Brilliant. So next week is mental health awareness week, and the theme is nature. So we're recording that podcast specifically for this week, but mental health is not something that should be only celebrated for 1 week. And you two have got some quite amazing story. So Dag, would you like to start with your personal story? Why is mental health so important to you?
Sure thing. And I think that was one other reason that I think Charlie and I connected on a personal level, because we do have sort of similar stories concerning mental health. So my interest in mental health and well-being, like you said, stems from the fact that I had a personal experience of having a work-related breakdown. And I emerged from it much stronger person. So back in 2009, I was working at Barclaycard. I was a year and a half into my job there, and I was a top performer, and I earned myself a little bit of a reputation for recovering struggling projects. And, you know, by all accounts, looking from outside in, you would have thought that, you know, my career was on the up. I was having everything together. But really, I was on the inside, I was struggling because I was working on a very high profile project. I had very limited resources to help me deliver it. And I have put on myself this immense amount of pressure to not only deliver it on time, but also to, you know, live up to that reputation I have worked so hard on. Sort of by end of November, I had by all accounts, the most spectacular breakdown you can think of. I had a panic attack in the middle of the Barclaycard HQs in front of about 100 people. I had to be escorted from the premises, collected by my partner, and as a result of it, I was signed off with work-related stress from a period of time. And, you know, I was incredibly lucky because Barclaycard was just so brilliant at helping me to get better. I had, you know, paid for counseling. I had staged return to work. I had regular catch-ups with my line manager and my HR business partner to make sure that I was coping. And I think most importantly, I, you know, for someone that derives a lot of self-worth from work, I didn't feel that incident or that event has in any way negatively impacted on me being considered for promotion going forward. And, you know, and I did very well at Barclaycard. Sort of my career grew and in seniority and responsibility. And whilst it was the most traumatic or one of the most traumatic events in my life, it also has been the most transformational, because I learned so much about myself and about the importance of mental health and mental well-being, and that's really how my, you know, interest and I guess my love on the subject has developed ever since.
I genuinely think it's, sorry for chopping up. Honestly, when I first spoke to Dagmara, I've got to.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. We're all friends here.
No, exactly. First time I spoke to Dagmara, it humbled me and it inspired me at the same time to hear someone share their story so eloquently and so courageously. Because let's face it, it's from the outside, 100 people looking at an experience that you can't describe, that you've never felt before, that puts you right on an edge, and to come back from that and utilize that to make you even more successful, even stronger as a person, is incredibly inspiring. And I think it's a massive reason why I think, yeah, we got on when we first met. And I think it's a wonderful story to share with people, specifically on this platform, to be able to show that mental health doesn't equal, unsuccessful, or there's something wrong with you, or that's it, you're put into a box, and that's, you're never going to get promotion at Barclaycard. And I think it's an amazing, attributed to your success, is like the massive thing for you is that you had the strength to do it, and you had the support, which is, yeah, incredible for me. It warms my heart, certainly.
So Charlie, why don't you share your story?
Oh, it's story time around the campfire. Yeah, so I worked for a FTSE listed recruitment business, and it was one of my first jobs. I loved the work stress. I loved the idea that you're helping people to get jobs, and didn't help I was on the temporary market, so it wasn't jobs that they loved, it was jobs that paid the bills. But I was relatively successful at it, but for a load of reasons, all of which were mostly to do with work and the organization. There was a culture of, I think, called the 13-week plan, where if you didn't hit your targets, you were fired. You were targeted to be on the phone for 3 hours a day. It was very much if you're not good enough, then you've got to go, sort of thing. And it breeds incredibly successful people, but what it does is it affects a lot of other people very negatively. And I think even if you are successful, you're sacrificing an awful lot. And my manager was under pressure, his manager was under pressure, and it filtered down. And for me, it kind of peaked at the point where I started experiencing severe anxiety and 3 or 4 panic attacks a day, where I hid away in the company toilets, playing on a thing called Merge Pool on my phone, which I've still got as a reminder of my life back then. But what I did was, I in a very different manner, I suppose, to Dag, is in the same way, I thought, right, I'm going to use this to grow from it. I looked up what I was doing when I was playing on that snooker game or pool game, and it was distraction technique, which led me to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which led me to acceptance commitment therapy, and Helen, our clinical director. And I thought to myself, right, let me look up apps. And I looked up Calm and Headspace and all these great tools that do wonderful things, but none of them did everything I wanted. And I didn't want to ideally have to pay for something that someone else was causing me through the business. So I then thought, right, let's think of, how do we get the organization to realize that I'm hiding away here, and actually I could be making them more money if I was happy, productive, and supported. So I quit that job and started somewhere else. And in the background, I set up OK Positive to create an application to let me support myself, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable going to therapy, and I didn't at the time. And I didn't know where I was going or what I was going to do. It's a lot of money to spend on something you don't really want to admit you need. So yeah, I wanted to create a tool where I could look after myself, learn more about myself. And that's led me to where I am today. So very similar in the sense to Dag. I look back on it with extreme fondness, weirdly, because it was a terrible moment in my life. I gained a massive amount of weight. I took things home. I became a grumpy person to the people closest around me. And I think that was the key for me. Whereas with Dag, I think yours was a particular moment. Mine was a building up of moments that led me to finally sit there and go, I'm a horrible person. I hate myself. So I need to make a change here for the better of the people around me and myself. So yeah, that's my story, long-winded as it is, but it's led me to here, I suppose.
It's inspiring to see, because when you look at different stories of people in your position. So Dagmara position as an executive, you usually, the perception that you have is these people are absolutely strong. They never fail. They never. There is never anything. So when you look at it from an external point of view, then you think, okay, this is what I've got to live up to. I've got to be strong. So then that pressure, exactly as you described it, Dagmara, as I will put that pressure on myself, and then that will cause then the breakdown. And for you, Charlie, it's exactly the same. You're now founder. I mean, this is when you look at founders, you think, wow, these people, they just never let go. They never had a failure. They just like super strong, and they just like get on with it. Well, that put a lot of pressure. So it's kind of a demystifying the myth behind being successful.
Yeah, every leader is an iceberg. If you think about it, you see the top bit, which is, you look at Elon Musk or whoever it is, Belinda Gates and Bill Gates. You look at Melinda and you think, actually, well, they're all successful now and everything's gold and great for them, but they'll have problems like the rest of us. Everyone goes home and has to cook dinner or has to, go and look after a loved one who's unwell. Everyone is human. And if you break it down to that level, which is why it inspired me with Dag in particular, because she's at a far higher level than I am, but it's good for us to look and see and go, we're all human, we experience these things and we can use them to our benefit in a good way.
I think it goes back to Amelie, something that you've mentioned is that it's great to see how leadership is perceived, because I had another conversation with someone else about it, and I think the problem is how historically that's how effective leader has been perceived, someone that has got all the answers and it's always put together and always successful. And I think we're seeing a shift into being authentic, being vulnerable, because we are all humans and we all have got ups and downs. And it's much more inspiring, whatever, lofty word you want to use, to share that human side than to pretend that you've got it always all together. No one has got it everything together all the time.
And this is exactly what's inspiring is that transparency, and for you to come up with that story, tell the rest of the team, and the team is probably now even inspired to be closer to you and say, okay, it's okay to have a failure. It's okay if today I'm not at my 200%. It's okay to be human, and that's very, very interesting. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is if you could give yourself an advice back then, when you saw with what you know now, when you saw that you were getting all that stress and all that anxiety, what would you have done, or what advice would you give yourself to stop having this breakdown?
Well, Dag, do you want to go first?
I can if you want me to. So I think for me, the biggest realization, it's something I do a lot now, and I tell people to do a lot now, is just simply realize, because sometimes you don't deliver, not because you're not capable, it's just simply because there's too much work to do and there's not enough hours to do the work. So, I've learned to step back when I get to the point when I feel like, oh my God, I've got this list of things to do and I'm not able to deliver it. I take a step back and I look and go, okay, is it because I'm not being effective at, managing my workload or what it is? Or is it simply because I've just been given too much work to do? And honestly, 9 out of 10 times, it is simply because we just have too much work to do. So then it's just about prioritizing. Well, what's the most important thing? What's the thing that is going to make the biggest impact? And let me just focus on that, and let me just get this done, get that sense of achievement that I've done it, and then, revisit. But, we can't magic out hours in a day. There's only so many. And sometimes there's more work than the hours to do the work.
Completely agree. And from my perspective, on a very kind of basic level, it would have been to talk to the people around me that I was experiencing it, rather than I pretended I just had tiny bladder, rather than saying, and a lot of people at work were like, oh, you're going to loo awfully like an awful lot. And I was like, yeah, sorry, that's it. And to put it into context, I was I think I was 5th or 8th in the UK in my line of business for the business. So I was performing and I was bringing in this money for them. And I loved what I did. I loved the job. I loved the people around me. But there was just 1 or 2 things that could have changed, and actually having the voice the courage to kind of bring that up in a constructive way. I also think as humans, we're very self-defeating. As you say, Dag, you'll say, oh, I'm not good enough because I can't get this deadline in on time. When in reality, the deadline was never going to be met because the workload was too high. But as humans, we always want to overachieve. It's the next thing. It's the next. My biggest advice I'd like to have given myself was to enjoy the journey. I'm a person who from A to B, I would want to run as quickly as I could. If I'm going to the bus to get somewhere, I want to get to where I'm going as quickly as I can, and I will not enjoy the walk or the run, which it becomes. And it's something I've had to learn, that actually the journey bit is the most fun part. And whether that's work, whether that's I need to get this project in, whether that's I need to get this done or I'm going to lose my job, change those thoughts to, right, I'm going to build this process. I'm going to tick off things that I've done on my list. And then where I get to, I play rugby, or I used to play rugby. And it's very much, you talk about performances and outcomes. Performance, if you put in the performance, the outcome will sort itself out. And it's very much the same with work. So yeah, but I also think that comes from the organizations as well, which is why I'm very passionate about that. But from an individual level, I would have told myself, hey, take some time out for yourself, listen to what you're thinking, notice what you're feeling, what's making you feel that way, and talk to others about it. Because if you bottle it up, it becomes a massive panic attack, or it becomes a situation where people will go, whoa, didn't realize this.
So from a workplace point of view, and an organization, we had like, why is mental health so important on the workplace, and what can we do, what can other employers do?
Well, I'd put it really succinctly, like this is as simple as I can put it. So we talk about physical health and mental health. Say if you're a business and you have a 30-minute walk, cars didn't exist, and you have a 30-minute walk to the office. If everyone in your office wasn't physically fit enough to get to the office, you wouldn't have a company, would you? They wouldn't be able to get into the office. They wouldn't be able to work. You wouldn't have a business. It would fail. It's the same with mental health. If they're not mentally fit enough and happy enough to work, you're not going to have a business. It's going to fail. That's how serious we've got to take it from an organizational point of view, that productivity, happiness, they're intertwined. You know, we've lived in this archaic society of you got to do 8 hours a day, and we time things in hours and time spent. Whereas actually we're seeing from our analytics at OK Positive and other pieces of information, surveys and research, that ticking things off of your list on a to-do list, getting value out of your day, feeling like you've achieved something is one of the highest satisfaction ratings for people in the workplace. Yet, but we still go, you've got to be in from 8 till 6, or you've got to be in from 9 till 5. That's success. You've worked. Oh no, you've worked an extra hour. That's success. No, if you get your 5 or 6 things you need to do to perform well done in 1 hour, go home. I think we need to, I know that's a very kind of excessive, elaborate way of putting it, but I think we need to be taking mental health as seriously as physical health in wider society. In fact, probably more, because if you're not mentally feeling up to it, you won't exercise. And if you won't exercise, you become sick, or you become unfit or unhealthy. And I think in a workplace setting, we need to start taking it seriously. We're not aware of it anymore. We've been aware of it for a while now. Take action on it. That would be my view on it.
So, yeah, so I think, Charlie, you're speaking my truth. So I always talk about outcomes versus outputs, and like we so focus on, like you say, the ticking the boxes. Like, well, if I've done everything to deliver the outcome, who cares whether I need 3 hours or 6 hours on it? But that's maybe a topic for another podcast. But in answer to your question, Emily, why is mental health so important in a workplace? So for me, apart from because it's the right thing to do on the human level, you know, it also, if you know, if it doesn't appeal to your sort of human emotions, it's also right on the economical level. So 1 in 4 people currently experience mental health issue once a year, and 1 in 6 people suffers from either anxiety or stress-related work issues, or from depression. All of that, as Charlie said, means reduced productivity, presenteeism, so people sitting at work for 8 hours, but actually not delivering any outcomes, or people being absent because they're so stressed that they have to sign themselves off. The estimated annual bill in Great Britain to deal with the bill related to the mental ill health is between 70 and 100 billion pounds per year. And the estimated number of lost work hours is 70 million per year. So and that doesn't even like take into equation, you know, the human suffering. Yeah, that's just purely, I'm talking pounds here, or time loss. So imagine if we could invest all of that money in preventing mental health issues rather than trying to fix it after people go through those traumatic events. I think that's why it's crucial that as organizations we focus on doing something about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's totally right, Dagmara. And I think also, like, during the pandemic, we've all been sitting at home. We've all been like working. Like, there is no much boundaries, as you were saying earlier, Charlie, that this 30-minute that you go to work, you don't even have that. Some people I know have had their break was, okay, they leave the office and then that's it, like they're out of work, and then they goes into their family home, their private life. With the pandemic, we didn't have that anymore, and that certainly, I can speak of experience, quite a big impact on me, because, for example, I would be working, and no matter if it is, I've ticked my list, but then, as Dag said, the list is always big and big and big, and then when you look at it, you want to do everything, and then you find yourself at 6 o'clock in the morning, like just looking, and then oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and you know, you don't get that boundary anymore. And so, as a preventive measure, like, what do you think can be done to ensure that the employees do not burn out, whether that is during a pandemic, when we have to stay at home, or when we're back in the office?
So I think if I may go first, Charlie, because it's just building on that point, Amelie, you made about the boundaries and how much harder it is now. We pretty much stuck at home, and you know, you don't have this physical sort of act of signaling to your brain, okay, work is finished now, and it's time to relax and you know, sort of do something for yourself. So it's about creating those sort of physical boundaries for yourself in your work environment. So you literally physically sort of signaling to your brain, it's time to switch off now and rest. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is, you know, learning about how to manage your stress container in the most effective way. So each of us will have our stress container will have a different size, and depends on, you know, your how you were brought up and the experiences you went through. And therefore, in order to stop that container from overfilling when there's loads of stressful situations, you need to find strategies that help you to, you know, release some of that stress. So like, build yourself a little tap that is going to help you drain all those negative emotions in order to keep your mental health in the best possible state. And it's really very individual. Like, for me, it's about walking, it's about paddle boarding, it's about making bread lately. So I make sure that, you know, I diarize these things. It's like, I try to go for a walk most of the days when I work, because that sort of helps me to sort of go, okay, it's time to just have some time for myself. At the weekend, I will try to go on my board, I'll make a bread. And in moments when I feel overwhelmed with, you know, a situation or emotion, I then would do a little mindfulness exercise, because again, that just helps me to sort of diffuse situations. So that would be sort of my advice to people.
Yeah. Brilliant. And I think, as you say, it's completely one size doesn't fit all. And I'd probably answer the question from an organization point of view and an individual point of view. So from what we're seeing across organizations, it's sharing and collaborating ideas for best practice effectively, and listening to your staff and employee feedback. So don't just do things you think they will like, listen to them and see the things that they do like. So for example, we've seen businesses allow an extra hour off on a Friday if they hit the target beforehand. We've seen pajama days. We've seen walking Wednesdays, where everyone goes out for a walk together if they're in an office. If they're not, they all do that meeting on the phone and they walk around somewhere locally. We've seen people do 1 hour for charity every week because of that idea of giving, and it's on the company time. We've seen meetings and startups where people go, let's talk about how we feel. So how to, not in an emotional sense, you go, how have we found work? What could be better? What could be worse? And go through that and communicate. And for varying levels of success, whether that's working from home as well. We've seen policies that people put in to work from home because they've seen how much it helps and benefits people to have that flexibility. One of the reasons I left my business is I love going to the gym. I'm very much like Dag in the exercise form, and I couldn't do it because of the rigid hours of 8 till 6. If I go beforehand, I was getting up I did it for 3 months. I got up at 4:45 to go to the gym to get to work, and I couldn't do it any longer. And therefore my weight fluctuated because I was eating, and I couldn't go after work because doing a full day's work, 8 till 6, 10 hours, and then you go to the gym, you can't do it. So from an organizational point of view, I think you've got to listen to your employees. You've got to see what works for them. Because it's like a vehicle. If all the parts are working and happy and cared for, it will run smoothly. If it doesn't, or one part breaks, then you've got to take it and it shuts everyone else down. So from that perspective, from a human level, from a personal level, you're so right, Dag. Just set boundaries for yourself. No meetings Thursdays or things like this. Block out time in your diary as busy. And that is your lunch break. Mm-hmm. That is before work and that's after. And set yourself those expectations. Go, these are the expectations. We do it. Okay, positive. Individuals come in and say, look, I can do this. I can't do this because I'm doing my own thing or I'm looking after myself. Perfect. Because you're getting things done, but you're enjoying it at the same time and you're looking after yourself. You cannot have burnt out individuals on any level because it's going to create wider problems, as you say, in society. 12.7% of all sick days are due to mental health. Like, you think we stop for these broken legs, or you've hurt your back, or you've got a migraine from staring at the screen. We don't factor in the stresses of everyday life and the mental health side. But for me personally, mindfulness doesn't work for me as well as other things. That's coming from a guy who has a mental health app. I prefer breathing square exercises. And it's not about, everything has to work for you. It's called a mindfulness practice for a reason. Because you practice it. It's like anything. You can't go to the gym and come out looking like The Rock after one session.
Sadly.
No. I tell you what, cheaper memberships for sure. But I'll tell you that. So one of the things that does work for me from a mindfulness perspective, and this may be something for people who are listening to try that don't find it works for them. Quite often I find as humans, we're thinking in the future or we're thinking in the past. So you're either going, oh God, what did I do last night? What did I say to so-and-so? Did I get that done? Or you're thinking, oh God, what am I doing tomorrow? I need to make sure I've planned that. I planned this, or I'm nervous about that. And we never think in the present. And that's what distraction techniques do. That's what me playing on that pool game did. But there's a very simple way to do it. If you're ever near a tap, you run the tap, cold water for a couple of seconds, hold your hand under, and just think about what that feels like on the tip of your hands. So what does that water feel like touching your skin? And in that moment, when you're doing that, you are completely present because you're not thinking in front of you, you're not thinking behind you. And what it does is it grounds you. And it's a wonderful somatic way of doing it with your body rather than having to think it's all in your head. Utilize the water. You can do it on anything, rubbing your hand against grass, against a tree, whatever it may be, particularly with nature is the thing. Get out,
yes,
hugging trees, go and touch the branches and see what it feels like to your skin. And that will ground you. You won't be thinking about your project that you're late on. You won't be thinking about the argument you had with your partner yesterday. So that would be my advice, very long-winded as it is.
That's a really, really good advice, Charlie. I'll actually definitely be trying that next week myself.
And wild swimming if you can, although not many people like the Thames, not a good place to go wild swimming.
I'm going this Saturday, so very much looking forward to it.
You will, and then when you're in it, you won't.
Yeah.
Then when you're out, you'll go, that was amazing. It feels like things are stabbing your legs. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But look, the thing that I really like, and I want to bring it back, the conversation to that is the work that OK Positive and Zumo are doing together, because I'll be now talking from someone who works at Zumo and who is using the app. So what I love about it, Charlie, is the possibility to be talking about something and making people aware about it in the organization without having to talk about it. And by just writing it, and then also being able to, do I want to share that with the organization? Yes, I want to share that within the organization. Or sometimes like, no, I won't, but I will still record it. Look at what my levels were. Was I happy on that day? Why was I happy on that day? And this really worked. And I wasn't so happy on that day. What did happen that made me unhappy? And kind of like really looking from that perspective, what makes me unhappy? What makes me happy? And that kind of like work toward that.
Yeah, and it's something that I've really enjoyed for myself. So firstly, it's incredibly humbling. It's great to hear that you're enjoying using the app. I think it's only going to get better from here. So I'll tell you where it's going from there at the moment, which is brilliant. You're looking after yourself. It's very much a self-education, learn about yourself. We do it with Fitbit and all these physical things where you go, what's my heart rate? What's my 10,000 steps I've done today? Yes, I've ticked the box. But we never do it for mental health. We just wait until something goes wrong or something builds up. And I found lived experience in August when we launched the app last year. I saw that my Mondays to Wednesdays, and I always say this when I show the app to people about to use it, I saw Monday to Wednesdays were red and orange on my mood calendar, and it was anxiety when I clicked in and looked into it. And it was due to me having a few beers on a Sunday. During the first lockdown, what else was there to do? Don't judge me. But what it did was it made me unhappy further down the line. So I removed it. I took it out. I said no more. And then I looked at my September and it was full of green. And my Mondays to Wednesdays were no longer filled with anxiety. It's about learning about yourself, what works, what doesn't. You may realize there's something that really makes you happy that you've been doing for 4 or 5 months that you didn't realize how important it was. And noting it down and having it in that form is incredibly powerful. It's a powerful tool to learn about yourself and to get the best out of yourself. And where we're taking it now is that you're actually going to be able to create your own profile, which is completely anonymous. It's aggregated. We're not interested in individuals. We're interested in their individual profiles and what helps them. So what you'll do is you'll get your profile and it will produce content based on that. So you'll do a little assessment for cognitive behavioral therapy and it will go, well, your profile A. And what it'll do is based on your preferences, it will give you the content that you're looking for, that you say works for you. You'll do that journey and these courses, these modules, whatever it may be that you've preferred, whether it's audio, video, mindfulness, noise, scapes, whatever it may be. And then you evaluate it and you say whether you liked it or you didn't, if it worked or if it didn't. And what it does is the machine then learns for you. It starts the next time you come in, it will produce the content that works for you in that particular mood. And then it will start linking into your OK Positive rating and your scores. So actually what we're trying to do is starting to, preempt things that are going to go wrong or things that are going well. So if things are going well, it will pop up and say your main moods have been happiness due to exercise or happiness due to spending time with friends. And therefore you can learn very, very easily that this is what works for me. And the beauty of it is because it's all aggregated, because it's all anonymous, it's all profile based. There could be someone else out there who has the same profile as you that you don't know about, the other side of the world, but your content and the things that work for you, because they're the same profile type, it will help them. And therefore, by just looking after yourself selfishly to see I want to know what makes me unhappy, makes me happy, you could be helping someone else because they have a similar profile and they don't know what works for them. But it's put in front of them, they try it, they evaluate it and learn. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that people are now, it's easier to learn about yourself and support yourself than it is not to.
It is amazing. And from you, Dagmara, as a manager, leader that uses the app, that is on the other side, how does that help you and help the rest of the organization for employees to use the app?
Yes, so as Charlie said, well, I guess as you said, having a safe place where people can go and in an anonymized way share information about their mental well-being, and I am able to sort of see overall mood. I don't see any individual scores, but I see the comments that people are willing to share. I also see sort of the mood, the general mood of the organization. It's just invaluable because then I can actually do something about it. And as Charlie said sort of previously, when people are happy to share their comments, I also I'm not trying to guess what would be right for people. Often people would be willing to suggest what could be right in order to help them. So it's just, incredible to be able to have that type of place. And there is a brilliant newsfeed feature as well, where as an administrator I am then able to share any sort of useful information, any initiatives that as Zumo we're doing, anything that I found helpful, or anyone else. So it's just a sort of one central place where we can all share all those things that have worked for us, and that other might want to try in order to get themselves into a better place.
Good.
Makes me feel amazing when I hear things like this, and seeing organizations such as Zumo taking the initiative to actually care. Like, a lot of companies will say they care and provide a load of resources that mean nothing. That you need to lead these people towards the support. It's not, you need to encourage, incentivize. You need to appreciate that people are overworked or have no time to look after themselves, and will put the company first quite often. So to give something back, give them that time back, give them the support and show them where it is. And I think it's amazing that you're doing it. And I'm glad that we're able to kind of support a little part of that. It's great to see. And I think that's where you'll see the massive amount of success through Zumo. I think you'll see the fact that the people are happy, that they're listened to, that, okay, it may not be that I hate working here. It's just that this last 2-week sprint has put me into a really bad place. So can we look at the next sprint and see what we can do better for that? It's just invaluable from a, as you say, a return of investment. Like, for every £1 spent, it brings back £5 in productivity. But imagine if you're spending that £1 in an area that is absolutely relevant and bespoke to the people that you're trying to serve. So, and trying to get the best out of. It encourages me, because we're at the start of this journey, and we need to persuade more organizations to do the same, I think.
And that is absolutely like what I love about Zumo, and that initiative launched by you and Charlie, you, Dagmara, and Charlie at Zumo. It makes a workplace so much better and so much more human. So next week is Mental Health Awareness Week. So have you got anything planned? Although, of course, mental health awareness should be every week. Is there anything in particular that you are doing for that occasion?
From an OK Positive perspective, we've got an initiative where, because it's a nature-based theme, we're all taking pictures of something we're doing in nature this week. So we've already had one. Our COO Bob is up in Lochinver. He's out cycling in the mountains. It looks like something out of Lord of the Rings. It's sunny up there, which is a first for the west coast of Scotland. So we're doing something based around nature, kind of showcasing it to everyone, to show that, look, we've taken time out. It's almost evidence that, a lot of people say, yeah, I'll look after myself this weekend, or I'll look after myself this week. Now prove it, show us, go on, let's see it. And the proof is in the pudding. So that's what we're doing. I think we're going to be doing a massive amount of awareness raising through our channels, but individually, mindfulness during our meeting, on our weekly meeting on Wednesday, and just generally checking in on each other. We had a wonderful meeting at OK Positive so it was a month ago now, where we shared how we were doing, just individually. Those who were comfortable too. You could pass and say, no, not me today, with no kind of, but everyone did. Everyone wanted to, because someone started it off and just said, look, I've been really struggling. My workload is too high. I'm stressed at home and I don't know what's working. We all shared and collaborated, and the whole meeting just went completely differently. There was a focus. People looked after each other. They dipped in and helped each other. It was just, those are the things that will make a difference. So that's what we're focusing on for next week as well. But every week, as you say, Emily, it's not just next week and then we forget about it.
Amazing.
So great minds think alike, because we're doing the same, Charlie, at Zumo. So we are also encouraging everyone to take extra time out, go into nature, and, like you say, prove it. And obviously, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be right if also we didn't ask the staff to notice how being in nature makes you feel, and log it on OK Positive. So that's extra bonus if you do that. But we also encouraging, it's something that you mentioned previously, we're encouraging people to, where possible, have a walk and talk meeting as opposed to sitting in front of computer meeting, and then in continuation to share your story, because we know how powerful story sharing is. We are going to have another of our executive team members share their personal story internally with Zumo to show that, you know, just because you go through a dark time in your life, it doesn't mean that your life is over.
Absolutely. And I think that's brilliant. And I think it does take a lot of courage to do that kind of stuff, because it, you know, it's not easy to tell people that, you know, that aren't immediate family or, you know, partners, loved ones, but they are your team. They're the people that you spend that most of your day with, that you get on with and you want to do the best for. So I think it's amazing that you're doing that. And I think it will help people. So subconsciously, people will go, oh, and talk about it in the pub with their friends, that they had this talk and it's an amazing story. You don't know the person's name, but you hear the story and then they'll open up. And you don't know that kind of follow on, that trickle down to, it could be someone's neighbor's postman who comes around and they go, oh, I heard a story from a friend of someone who experienced this and came out the other side even better. It is, yeah. I think the more we do it, the better. And we're going to keep banging the drum, aren't we, Dagmar and Emily?
For sure.
Keep banging the drum until we're so annoying they just do it.
Exactly. You know, my strategy is often is to submit people into capitulation. It's like if Emily shares that strategy with me.
If I ask enough times, it might happen.
Exactly that.
There's nothing to lose.
Tire people into submission.
So look, it was so lovely hearing your stories and speaking to you about mental health, and I hope this podcast will help anyone, any employers or employee, to take the right step to make sure that they promote well-being within the organization. So thank you so much. Charlie, if people want to find more about OK Positive, where can they find you?
Just our website, www.okpositive.org, spell O and the letter K. And just have a look. Yeah, there's loads of different tools and things that we have there for free as well, blogs, podcasts as well, that you know, we'll be sharing this podcast that you've done on our LinkedIn soon. So spread the word, because it's so powerful. But yeah, if you want to check that out, go and chap on your senior management team's door and say, we want this now, give it to us. And that's how we get things done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.